Morning guys, Thursday the 9th of July. Definitely noticed how there wasn't as much rain either yesterday or last night because you can see them. Those are what I call the stepping stones across the water, whereas yesterday they were actually covered. So yeah. Still very soggy though. So yesterday I was reflecting a bit on various things, including working virtually and the pros and cons of that, and my thoughts around that. And interestingly, yesterday, one of my supervision sessions, one of the people who were supervised, they were saying that they recognised when they were considering moving actually some mediation online, they looked at the detail, they looked at how what the process is normally like and how long things take, and they actually decided to put an additional session in for the individual themselves because they felt that was needed before they came together. Well, so it was quite good in terms of them adapting. So she'd adapted and put an extra session in. She felt that was right and that was needed. She was also a bit, I think, unsure for a while as to whether she really thought perhaps it was okay to bring the process of mediation online, which she, especially if there's more than one person involved, because she tends to do that face to face. But in fact, she listened to another colleague who actually was initially very, very cynical about the whole process, and it's somebody who she respects, and basically he took the process online and said how surprised he was actually that it worked. It worked really well. I think he then was suddenly open to the possibilities and ideas. I think that made her think, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I might consider it a little bit more. Sometimes a good practice that somebody else who she knows and respects has done it. There was another person who I supervise. She was showing about a client that she has, and she was noticing the boundaries between what they were doing and what they were sharing, and almost what I think the individual was wanting or expecting from her had sort of shifted and blurred, if you like. And I think there was always an element of that, but I think then the lockdown, for various reasons, that had really become more pronounced, and we explored that, and we talked about really the redesigning, if you like, of the boundaries, and her perhaps just sharing with him what she has noticed. I noticed since we've been online that the boundaries aren't quite as clear. Have they noticed that? What do they think about that? But really just then reinforcing perhaps what boundaries are needed. Because I hear a lot of people say, the boundaries can become more blurred, and particularly if you're in, say, your own home, it feels slightly different. And I understand that and I appreciate that. At the same time, I do think to some extent we demonstrate what we believe and take on board. So if we start to take on board and believe, oh well, yeah, the boundaries will become more blurred, and then it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we'll almost create that. So I think it's acknowledging that there are some other things that need to be spoken and put in place. And also this individual was talking about having a screen. Morning.
Good morning.
Hello, gorgeous.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, they were talking about putting a screen, well, I say a screen, it would be like a curtain, a backdrop, so that it gave a sense of their living space and their background being more neutral. They felt that just all little things, but they're all steps that can enable that sense of neutrality, and not having so much of the personal in your space when you're online sharing with somebody else. Ooh. Then it's interesting, there's a client that I've been seeing for actually a couple of years now, and what I've found is that there's always been moments where it might become a little bit like she'll back off or resist, or not always go quiet, not always want to share certain things, and there is still an element of that at times. But what I also noticed was that I think it's enabled her to be that bit more honest perhaps at times. She seems to go to this, what I call a place of, in particular a couple of things that she shared that I know are very difficult for her to name and share. It seems like she's just been able to go to that place that little bit more, which I think is really interesting to note and important, and it's enabling her to just perhaps go that little bit deeper in herself, but then still feel that she's distanced enough to be able to back off from it and hold it in some way. But I also think it's oh yeah. Had enough, Will? This way. Yeah, I think it's about the also the resources and the equipment that you have, because I was also hearing some other people to do the college work share that that can, as times has been really challenging, because some of the learners still, they're, I think what they were calling like digital poverty is what they'd phrase. So, they still don't have perhaps the, the best, most up-to-date computers or laptops, because generally I think what they've realised, particularly with doing things like say Zoom and stuff, is that you actually do need laptops and computers because they seem to be more abled with the functions, whereas on phones, which obviously a lot of people have, but what that will often mean is that they don't have all the functions. And also for some learners, I mean literally, people have been sharing how they just keep what they call dropping out off, the line, just literally every 5 minutes, which is challenging and difficult then, certainly doesn't become conducive to theirs or other people's learning. In fact, I'm delivering part of the mental health in the workplace unit next week online, so it'd be interesting to see how that pans out really in terms of how I experience that, because the theory is great, but that may not be the reality. But the theory is that they all have computers and laptops, and their internet connections will work fine, and that mine will as well. And the reality, particularly remote distance learning, is that sometimes when you deliver, the process and the lagging happens, or the system's not fast enough to be able to share things without there being long gaps in between. As I said, sometimes the learners are not always able to keep the connection. So yeah, it's I think there's definitely all challenges within the process. And I think the idea, or ideal if you like, is to have more blended learning. But again, it probably only works to the extent that you have the resources. And also perhaps having so for example with stuff I've delivered at the college, having the connection with, or the better connection with the laptops that they can use there. But again, it's not the current reality moving forward at the moment. Certainly not can't do it to the extent with the numbers of learners that I think they're envisaging. Right, guys, just have a shower emerging, so just putting my my umbrella up. Been an interesting one this morning. It's quite a lot of people sort of coming past, and I'm always sort of mindful of not wanting to have other people on the film, and always sort of tend to go quieter or pause in some way. So yeah, just a few more people around. Hey ho. Anyway, guys, have a duty fruity Thursday, and I shall speak to you later. Take care, bye.